Hi there, everyone. So today I want to talk about Megaman X. This is a game I have quite a few memories of, funnily enough, because there was that one person who always had it. It was actually at my orthodontist office. He had it in his lobby, and it was really cool. So I have fond memories of playing this game throughout the years as a kid, but never actually owning it myself. And so finally in 2024, I actually bought it for the SNES and popped it in and kind of got my first Mega Man experience under my belt. Mega Man has been a series that's obviously never really appealed to me since I'm playing it, this late. That being said, though, it's funny that my recollection of it is pretty much that first initial level in the highway zone. And that was kind of all I knew about it. And over the years, I heard things like, oh, yeah, this is, the 8. There's 8 guys you always have to fight, and then every game's kind of rinse and repeat. I didn't realize how, repetitive the games are. I haven't really looked into it that much, honestly. I didn't even realize that Mega Man X was different from the other Mega Man games. I thought it was just the 10th one. But no, X is a moniker to determine that this Mega Man is actually a different Mega Man, that this is apparently 100 years in the future after the current Mega Man. And so this Mega Man, he's built as an all-purpose robot, unlike his Zero and his other peers. And he basically is forced into a combat situation and forced to adapt, kind of like a human, like the hero character. And I love this little intro here where it comes down, and I'm not sure if you skipped it in this video, but the X flashes and does all this really cool stuff. But basically, yeah, so Mega Man X in this scenario, or in this universe, is not a combat robot per se, but he can adapt, and his adaptability and his taking on the powers of the other robots he defeats is how he powers up, and that's his whole kind of thing. The story itself is there's an evil scientist and evil robots. You just have to go fight them. It's obviously not very complicated. It's definitely treated as an action game, and in this era, action games on a 16-bit or whatever console were kind of, novel in a way. It focuses a lot on dodging, shooting and dodging at the same time is really a big thing to defeat any real boss. And honestly, on the original SNES controller, it's very painful to do that. I think I never understood the how do you say, the commercials or things that people talk about. Oh, I'm such a hardcore gamer, my thumbs hurt. And I never really got that until I started playing lots of games that use the D-pad, because the D-pad is extremely painful. After a few hours, it's kind of noticeable, which is really funny that we've moved beyond that, but I do appreciate that for what it is now. The worst, most painful gaming scenario I've ever had has probably been Kid Icarus Uprising, but that's a different story and that's a different game. But you have some cool things here. You have wall jumping. This guy makes it look very, very easy the way he's doing it, but it's a hard game, I know. But what kind of shocked me about it is that it's not that long of a game. It's pretty easy to beat it. It's not a super onerous thing to complete. I beat it in a day. It didn't feel like a day. It felt like very, how should I say, not hardcore, but a very anxious, very, stress inducing. But it did only last pretty much a day. And there's, all these other games that I'm focusing more so on my backlog now, on in terms of short games that aren't really long and hard to beat. Games that are quick, but also hard or fun or whatever. And this is just one of them that I've never actually played a proper Mega Man game, and I feel once some of the characters out as a smash, you're almost obligated to pay homage to that character. This intro level is actually not too hard. It's actually pretty fun. And then you get introduced to Zero and the main boss. So the main strategy of this game seems to be, and yeah, you automatically lose this fight, but the main strategy of the game seems to be, you know, when you charge up to your 3rd level blaster, you basically do way more damage to bosses. And I'm not sure if this is for all bosses, but when you hit them, they kind of register that damage, and any follow-up shots are nullified. And that definitely was true for the Penguin Ice boss. Iceman or whatever. No, his name isn't Iceman, it's something else. Chili Penguin or something. And I love this font. This font with like the slight highlight in the middle of it. It's very iconic. It's really nice. And of course is where the iconic hero character Zero comes in. And God, I've seen this scene so many times. I don't know. It's a cool scene. But yeah, once you charge up to your 3rd level of blaster, then that's kind of what you hit the boss with, and you have to dodge other attacks. And so this is just hitting and dodging, a lot of that. So the game itself, when you finally, you know, beat this opening section, as we'll see soon, it opens up to 8 different levels and stages and their respective bosses. And you basically get 3 lives per level. And it's weird because you actually have to go into the, you have to press the start menu to actually see your lives. And it's weird because sometimes an enemy will drop like an extra life, but it's very rare. And you kind of have to keep track of how many times you died because no one's going to press start. Yeah. So, okay, Chill Penguin. Okay, I said Chili Penguin. So I was right. I'll say I'm right. But yeah, these levels, I mean, the music is fun, the music is great. The enemies themselves aren't that challenging, you know, they're kind of basic once you figure out, you know, what are their habits, their patterns, and also, you know, they'll drop health or also, you know, a secondary gun ammo once you kill your first boss. So it's kind of, I don't know, I would say strange that they kind of present it as that you can tackle any boss you want in any order, but it's kind of implicit that there are certain bosses or certain levels you do at the beginning, despite having access to everything. I guess maybe for hardcore, like I guess this mate was played for oh yeah, this is a really frustrating part where you have to make those wall jumps. But the main objective is that you want to get to the final boss room with the least amount of deaths. And so this is the first upgrade you actually get, and it's from Dr. Light. I mean, they're all from Dr. Light. But this kind of area here is where you get your permanent upgrades. So the game is very hard. Like, I think I did the water level first, and that was actually fairly difficult, and the boss is very, very unfair without the right equipment. So again, even though they start you out with 8 different areas you can go to, there's kind of the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And so here he's going to get we're going to get the speed boots or whatever. And that basically lets us dash, which is necessary, basically. Like, it's almost like I can't imagine doing any of the other bosses without a dash ability. It's just crazy without it. And so that's the thing about this game that is, I guess, a love-hate relationship. I love the fact that, well, sorry, I hate the fact, I know, yeah, this is cool. It also acts as a cosmetic thing. So now he has like little silver boots, and that's like a cool little like thing. It's like, okay, cool. Now I can see my guy leveled up. The other thing is that the bosses in this game, they're very unfair. I mean, this game's a very hard, I would say, borderline unfair game. And oh yeah, and sometimes you get these suit sections, they're fun. But basically, because the game is so hard, it's very, very super frustrating. However, because you get these weird upgrades, like, you know, increased speed dash or permanently increased health, it's really nice when you've been having a really hard time and you find an item that's like, hey, this item will half all of damage taken, and you're like, oh, good, thank you, I now have a shot. So it's a little bit of the Dark Souls effect, I would say, actually, in the sense that you have these very difficult, insurmountable things to take care of that you just think you can't win. But then you find this one weird trick or this one upgrade that just is a total absolute game changer. And this is pretty much how I did this boss. You basically have to, wait for him to get in certain positions. You have to like dodge his attacks, otherwise they'll take a bunch of your health away. And you only want to hit him using your strongest blast. I was used to try hitting him with my weakest and just keep pelting him, but it just did not work. It's not the way you're supposed to fight this guy. And I think Chill Penguin is the easiest, even though it starts you off on the water level icon. And there you go, and that's it. And so if you were just hitting him with the normal things, it would like be 1 bar of health, but with the supercharged blast, it's 3 bars of health. Which brings me to the next topic. On the permanent upgrades, some of them are like, the boots were literally in the path of the player, but some of them are in very random, hard to reach places, and it's, I don't know what to say, but it's just very, like, you find where these permanent upgrades are, and they're in very odd places. Like there's one where you need a special upgrade to even get to, and it's like in this very hard to reach area, and when you finally get it, it's a upgrade for your main blaster, which seems basically necessary to fully beat the game. And if you didn't know about that, it just, the game would be severely unfair. And I don't know, there's a lot of very questionable design choices that it's like we're not even gonna address, that this should be easier to find. And of course, probably the deadliest thing in this game is, of course, platforming, besides the bosses. But yeah, you're able to dash and jump. You can either press a button to dash, or you can map it, even on the SNES, or you can double tap, which is kind of hard or inconsistent with the D-pad. Sometimes I would do it, and then I go into a running state because I didn't spend enough time between, pausing between jumps. I don't know how this would be to play on a different controller, if I would enjoy it more. And of course there are these hidden upgrades where it's like energy tanks and health and all this other stuff. The soundtrack is pretty good. It has that, I don't know what you call it, like 90s tech, 16-bit vibe to it. Very much in that style. And I'll be completely honest, I beat all the bosses of this game, but when it came to the final level and Sigma, I got like halfway through it, and I actually quit. I didn't rage quit. I just thought I could beat this, but the entire time to get my skill level to where I want it to be, to do that is going to take like at least a couple days, maybe a week. And it's like, I don't want to cause myself that kind of mental strife, and I'm kind of satisfied with the game at that point. It's good how Mega Man kind of controls. Sometimes it can be super frustrating though, the way he jumps and the way he doesn't exactly hit the wall grab. Yeah, for example, this little item lets him hit these blocks, and I don't recall if this is used a lot, but basically he gets a special helmet, and then it's basically only used to access this other upgrade, which is the charge beam upgrade blast. I'm not super sure, but it seems pretty useless to me. Maybe I'm just not sure about. But it looks cool though. It looks really nice. But yeah, in terms of bosses, I mean, they kind of all they're kind of not, I wouldn't say forgettable, but they're all very they have their moveset and whatever, but none of them have dialogue, none of them have real personality. They're just all there to you just show up to the boss room and you just fight them. You're like, fight me, Mega Man. Well, they don't even say that. So it's a mixed bag. The cool thing though is that once you defeat each boss though, and you breach that thing, similar to really hard games, and that once you hit this thing, you can hit this checkpoint, you can fight the boss basically infinitely. But once you beat that boss, you get their weapon, and depending on which weapons you get, some of them are kind of okay and they have limited ammo, but some of them are very, very useful, very effective, and their charge attack is very, very interesting. This was This was a fun boss. Honestly, I think what would improve this game, honestly, is being railroaded into doing these levels, ice, air, and like in a certain order. Because if you're thrown into a level that you simply cannot beat and is just impossible, it feels awful for a first-time player. Unless you figure out, oh, I was supposed to go here first, but no, the game didn't tell me that. Yeah, this was a fun boss actually, because it was hard without being not too unpredictable. But again, if you went to this boss without the dash ability, he has this turricane which blows you off, and there's nothing you can do if you don't have the dash ability. Like, it'd be insane, it'd be suicide to fight him. You literally could not win. And your mentality would be like, oh, it's just a hard game, I just need to try harder. No, you literally can't win if you don't have the right upgrades. And see, he's almost dead now. Pretty darn easy once you know what to do. Again, all these things are about figuring out the meta, like, oh, you have to use charge shots and dashes, like, and then you're like, oh, okay, I got you, without it really teaching you that. You could call that bad tutorial design or whatever, but there it is. Also, if you follow the map, that counts as an instant death. So there's a lot of very frustrating things that definitely do occur in this game, but you kind of get into the flow of redoing the same mission and being able to, you know, kind of grind at the same mission, get better, and finally get to the boss. Oh god, Flame Mammoth. This is the one guy where I probably hit my first major roadblock, where it took me quite a few times to beat him, and I almost had him, you know, multiple times. And then once I hit his weapon, the flamethrower, it was kind of, everything just got easier from there. But there's that one boss in like the mid section of a game where it just you kind of like crack the skill ceiling of what the game expects of you, and then once you figure out, you do it. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This specific section is like, it looks like he's doing it so close. He's doing, oh, see, and then suddenly he gets it, but it looks like you can't get up there, but you can. And this is where you get the fully upgraded charge beam, which is almost necessary to like beat the final bosses of the game. And it's such a weird spot that does not seem accessible at all. Like, this is like, I would say this would honestly be a bad game design. I would have this just a little bit closer to the player, so that they just get it the first time, and that they know that, you know, they can use their thing here. And now they'll charge up to their third. Now it's purple or pink or whatever, and it's this massive damage thing. And I had no idea that was there until I actually went back after I thought I had beat the game, and there was a guide, and it was like, oh wait, you missed this. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, oh my god, this part was so annoying, because if you just go, if any enemy goes off screen, they immediately respawn. So if you just wanted to like check on how do I say, if you just wanted to check on like you wanted to pick a health thing or an upgrade on the map, and you just go 1 inch and you go 1 inch back, that enemies immediately respawn. So there's no real incentive to kill all of them. For example, in terms of upgrades, there are things like you get a boomerang gun, which basically gets items in basically impossible places. You get a shield gun, where if you actually charge, it'll shoot like balls or whatever, but if you fully charge it up, it will actually create a shield around you that if any one-hit enemies, that really annoying one-hit enemies come in contact with you, they just are wiped out. It's incredibly like useful. So this game is very frustrating, it's very challenging, but what I love is that feeling that it gives you these tools which makes you feel like I'm cheating. And so when the game is super unfair, and it allows you to be unfair to the game as well, it's I don't know, it's a good feeling. Yeah, this was the boss where it was always just so close. You know, you figured out his pattern, you just had to like dodge at a certain time and watch out for, you know, the flames, and, you know, when he jumps, you jump right there, and then you blast him. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, though, I have to admit. It was really aggravating because he's so kind of slow and methodical, and I got a really good cycle one time where basically he did nothing but like spew that toxic sludge. And I didn't make it that time, but I was like one of those, oh, it's so close. And I love that feeling of when it's just a little bit. And I would get stuck on the corners. But yeah, it's a great boss. So I think I pretty much covered everything in this game. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple weird hidden things. It's a very, I would say, unconventional game, despite it being on an SNES. What is nice, though, is that little screen you saw with all the numbers. So every time you die, like you get a game over, and it puts you out to the level screen, or you beat the level, it has all these little guys show up, and that gives you a little code. And I looked it up on, online, how many cheat codes there are. And yeah, each one of them seems to be a cheat code. We have to wait for all of the things to, finish doing it so you can actually write it down old school style. But thanks to the internet, we have them. And the cheat codes are kind of pretty much OP. I can see why this is very much a very arcade-ish in style inspired game. Because it basically kills all the bosses for you. Some of them, like, you start the game with all upgrades, all bosses defeated, so you can just grind the final boss, which honestly is a nice balancing piece, if you will. I love these hard games where they just say like, okay, well, we were really hard to you, but now we'll basically let you cheat. It feels really good when you kind of get that ability. And this, oh my god, this was so difficult, because if you hit one of those things, it's an instant kill. It's worse than Sonic. It's more environmental than Sonic. You don't even lose your rings, you just die. And I hate these guys. You just fly out of nowhere into you, and they just bump you a little bit, and then you get stuck. But yeah, it's definitely a very difficult game. It has a great soundtrack, though, and the cheat codes, if you're really having trouble, if you really want to do a Timmy run, as I call it, you can just get a cheat code, and it will basically give you all the weapons or things you need if you were stuck on a certain boss, and you can basically just go through the game like whatever. And I think it's really interesting and smart of them that they do that, because like on Nintendo Switch's online old classic console store, where you can play old games for free, they have these versions of the games where a lot of people don't finish games, they don't actually beat them, and they have these versions where everything is set up to how do I say? It's set up to basically, yeah, this guy's trying to do this really difficult trick where you jump off the ice thing. You're supposed to use the hurricane gun, or rather the the boomerang gun, to get that item, but he's trying to jump off an ice block and very quickly, and I tried that. It's very frustrating. I could not do that for the life of me. Maybe it's because I'm on an NES controller, but I could not do it. But yeah, it's like set up so that you can do multiple playthroughs. It's like, hey, you can, just understand the mechanics, and yeah, Switch has this thing where you start something like Kid Icarus, but with all the powers, and you're at the final boss, and you're ready to fight them. And I think that's nice for people who never actually finished games or weren't able to, or at least they could see what it would be like to actually beat a game, or what the end game screen actually looks like. I find it very hard to abandon a game if I've never seen the end game screen. It's so important to me, that experience. And it's just not the same watching it on YouTube. Once you beat it, you feel like you beat it. And there are 5 games I can count on my hand that I just said, you know what, I'm not doing this. But yeah, this was a really tough boss. But yeah, Megaman X. It's a fun game. It's a very hard game. I'm not sure if I recommend it. It's definitely not for everyone. That is absolutely certain. Very retro, very 16-bit. The music is really great, though. The style of the game, the story really isn't there, but it's I guess it's the Mega Man game to play. I'm not sure if there are any diehard people who will disagree with me, But yeah, Mega Man X on the SNES. Classic game, and probably a good entry point for the Mega Man series. That's all I gotta say about it, guys. See you later.